All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have some very special guests here today. Here, I'll play the trailer first and foremost for No Other Land. Okay, for those of you who haven't seen it yet, No Other Land is a documentary. Here, let's just start off with this real quick. This was the Berlin Air trailer, and then we'll.
Thousand Palestinians face one of the single biggest expulsion decisions since the Israeli occupation of the Palestinian territories began.
هاي قصة عن القوة.
أنا اسمي باسل.
مسافة رياضة هي المكان اللي كبرت فيه. بداية تصويري هي بداية نهايتنا.
جرافات؟ أنا متعب تخاف.
شوف بس
شو الوضع؟
48 لا يهودي عندكم اياه والله.
في صوت بيطلع يعني مش ناس قاعدين يعني فيش بني آدمين.
شوف دخلوا.
This is what's happening in my village now. Soldiers are everywhere.
يكون كثير حلو إذا بصير استقرار. بعدين انتوا بتيجوا تزوروني مش أنا بزوركم ولا لا؟
ولا شو تفكر؟ لو أنت مكاني شو تفكر؟
Documentary is called No Other Land. We are joined by Hamdan Bilal and Basel Adra, the filmmakers, and it is nominated for Best Documentary at the Oscars tomorrow. Thank you guys for taking some time out to come and join us on the broadcast. I've had Motaz Zaiza in the past before as well. When did you guys get in?
Thank you for having us. Pleasure. We arrived in LA yesterday.
Okay. How do you like it so far?
Looks beautiful. We like it.
That's it. Okay. Beautiful is not something I've ever heard people say about Los Angeles, so that's cool. You're gonna have to get close to the microphone as well, by the way, just so you know. It's a complicated process, but do they want to hear something? No, it's Ramadan chatters. They're fasting. I'm a bad Muslim, so they sorry. So they think, you know, they want me to be polite and give you guys. Wait, is there buzzing on one of the microphones? No, there isn't. It doesn't. There's a buzz or high pitch when the orange microphone is used. Wait, really? Wait, can you speak into it?
Hello? Hi?
It's fine. No, I hear it. Okay. Well, regardless. All right. Well, I don't know how to fix it. So it's it's really bad. It's a small buzz. Okay. I don't know. I don't know how to fix it in real time. Sorry. So it might be a little bit. It's fine. Okay. Regardless, there's there's 30,000 people watching right now, so they're going to be very annoying. I'm just letting you guys know. But yeah, like I said, thank you so much for coming. And so let's talk about how this initially started. Like, what led you to film some of these experiences as growing up in occupied Palestinian territory in the West Bank?
Yeah, so we both coming from a small community called Masafir Yatta in the southern occupied West Bank. It's for those who don't know, Area C, which is fully controlled by the Israeli military forces. They control everything about our life, and there they are all the time not trying, but actually stealing our land to build more and more of illegal settlements and outposts, bringing in Jewish settlers from all over the world to live in it, while they are since decades and still persist, trying to destroy and destroying a big part of our homes and communities in order to force us leave our homeland. So we basically grow up in this horrific situation where every day we have to suffer from the occupation, and every day we have to witness something from this brutal occupation, reminding us that we are living a normal life and we are under this situation that nobody in the world stopping it from going on. So when we became teenagers, we started to hold cameras in our hands and run in the field, in our homes, in our villages, with our neighbors, with the shepherds, with the school students, filming what these crimes going on the ground from settlers and from soldiers. And basically, it began we didn't have an idea of making a movie. We just wanted the people to know that we exist in this part of land. We want people to see what's actually happening to our life, because every time there is bulldozers entering our community, destroying homes and properties and leave, it's not even interested for journalists, for the people. It's became a routine of our life. While for us, it's not a routine. It's a new suffering. It's a new family who losing their home and their structure, their shelters. And all of the time, we have been looking for different ways how we can make this footage and this evidence that we are taking on the ground seen by the world. And we wanted people to care about us, about what's happening. So we used sometimes social media. We have written articles about what's happening. And 5 years ago, we have been joined by other 2 Israeli journalists, activists, who came to Masafer Yatta for the first time, wanted to write also about what's going on. And it became interested for them, and they want to come more and more. And in the first few times we met Hamdan, who actually was the first one who mentioned the idea. Guys, what do you think of we can make a documentary out of all the footage that we have? None of us actually has experience in doing a long documentary, but we decided, the 4 of us, and agreed to go and take this experience and journey together. So we started 5 years ago. It was a lot of challenges, sometimes fun, a lot of troubles, facing physical violence and threats and pressure for our work. And last February, for first time, we have screened and premiered.
Wait, it's cutting out a little bit. Yeah, you gotta get really close into the microphone. Sorry.
Yes, fine. And the Rally was the first step and first time we premiered No Other Land. And it have been 1 year, and now we are in LA, nominated for the Oscar as a best documentary.
Yeah. Wait, let me also. Let's see. I'm trying to plug it in and unplug it and then replug it. Maybe it'll fix it. Sometimes.
I think we can do this.
Sometimes. Okay. We can do that too. Hold on. Here, try it again.
Hey, hello.
Can you guys hear him? Is it better? Or does the green one works? No, it's not better. It's fixed. Okay. The green one sounds good. All right, you know what? Let's just do that. Let's just use one mic. Oh, okay. Sorry, this is not the most professional setup. If I'm being real, unfortunately. Hold on, I think that's the second one. So, test it by speaking to it.
Hi, hello.
Okay, yeah, it should be. All right, we're good. We're good. All right, we're not going to use the second microphone. Okay. So, a couple questions. So, Americans are not very knowledgeable about what's going on in Gaza, let alone the West Bank. They don't even know that these are both Palestinian territories that are occupied by Israel as a belligerent occupier. So, do you want to explain to them what the differences are? Between Gaza and the West Bank, yeah.
Well, the differences between Gaza and the West Bank, Israel has occupied Gaza, West Bank, East Jerusalem, and part of Jordan, Egypt, Syria, Lebanon in 1967, and then there was sort of agreements with Jordan, Egypt, where they returned their land back, and Israel still occupying part of Lebanon land and Syrian land, also in Palestine, Gaza, East Jerusalem, and the West Bank. And in the beginning of the 80s, or in the middle of the 70s to the beginning of the 80s, they started building settlements and bringing, first it was military occupation, and then they started building settlements and bring in Jewish settlers, civilians to live in those settlements after they steal land from the Palestinians. And it continued in this way, with a lot of sufferings for sure, because we live under a foreign military control that try to as much as they can to push us out of our land, as we call it as Palestinians, ongoing Nakba, because the Nakba continue but with different methods. The catastrophe that happened in 1948, it kind of continuing basically until today, but in different forms, in different, they're using different terms, different law, but in the end of the day, it's about stealing our land as Palestinians and give it to those settlers and building more and more Israeli settlements and outposts, and all the time talking about annexations, not annexations. When Trump was a president in the last term, he, for example, gave Israel or announced that Hayat Golan, it's Israeli land, and also make East Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. And this is how Israel is creating facts on the ground until the international community will be forced, or America will help them and would be forced to accept that this became Israel. So all the talk about two-state solution today kind of dead, because there is Israel changed all the facts on the ground. They divided Gaza from the West Bank. We can't go to Gaza. People from Gaza can't come to the West Bank. It's totally divided. Israelis control all the borders around the West Bank and around Gaza. None of the Palestinians can go out and enter without permission of the army. In 2005, Israel withdrew from Gaza and took the settlers that were living there, but kept Gaza under Israeli control. All the borders were controlled. People in Gaza were under besieged for 17 years, but they continued in the West Bank to until today, building more and more settlements and checkpoints and roads, military bases. And basically this, one of the reasons is to prevent us as Palestinians to have our own independent state.
Yeah. And my analysis on it is that Israel kept purposefully utilizing a two-state solution that they were not really interested in the so-called peace process, in an effort to continue pushing it down the line further and further. And in some instances, like Netanyahu, for example, was very forthcoming, very honest about it too. He would say it's never going to happen, or that we're not interested, or I'm going to push it back. While simultaneously, the number of settlers in the West Bank grew to now 750,000 over the course of the past 3 decades.
Yeah. I mean, there was also agreement that where the Palestinian Liberation Movement has signed it and decided to become a Palestinian Authority. That's because America played a role and a key to have agreement and to create two-state solution. And that's what the PLO agreed to and signed in and became a Palestinian Authority and recognized Israel as a state, while Israel did totally the opposite. And like totally opposite, I mean, did not recognize Palestine as a state and kept the occupation and kept building more and more settlements and outposts and escalated the situation until today. And the thing that why Israel was able to do this, because the US were like the key player on this and make the Palestinian Authority or the PLO sign such an agreement that they will guarantee it, and they would prevent Israel from continue the occupation and building settlements and outposts. And what happened all the past 30 years, totally the opposite, where Israel were allowed and supported and funded and got military support as much as they want to continue of the building of settlements and outposts and put Gaza under siege and checkpoints in the West Bank and all the crimes that have been committed, and they have no single consequences from the international community and America, Europe, that allowed this to reach until today, because Israel were only receiving some condemnations on social media, statements here and there, but no actions on the ground to stop Israel from moving forward of like with its apartheid system to kill the two-state solution. And at the end of the last year, there was a law that passed in the Israeli parliament where they directly and clearly and fully said there will never be a Palestinian state.
Yeah.
And the world is silent.
Yeah. Do you feel like things have changed post October 7 in terms of a lot more recognition coming from the Western world in terms of like understanding the position of Palestinians? Because at least like I'm Turkish. I grew up in Turkey. I've always, it's a little bit different from my upbringing. So, because I always knew what was going on, but over the past 10 years, as a political commentator, I have always been pro-Palestinian emancipation, pro-Palestine, but I never saw this level of support from everyday citizens in the Western world. This is it does seem like there is a somewhat of a tide shift in that regard. Do you also feel that way, or
we definitely feel it, and we see it. The Palestinians were like seeing all the students who are protesting and feel that there are people who cares about them. The protest in the street and the campus in Europe as well, in the street, the people, there was a wave of support, and it continued, I guess, until today. In some of the countries, there was even European countries who was brave enough, like Spain and Norway and different other countries that recognize the state of Palestine. But we ask ourselves as well, that does this support that we are gaining today in the public opinion worth the price that the Palestinians paid in Gaza? I mean, this is an important question to ask ourselves.
Yeah,
the Palestinians like paid very, very high price. We're talking about tens of thousands of people who were like slaughtered, and almost 70% to 80% of Gaza is flattened, and there is like a chance that the war will start again, and I wish not. So you say yes, there is like in the public opinion a support to the Palestinians, but unfortunately in the government they keep the same support to Israel and using the veto here in the US, giving weapons and money, and in the the major European governments and countries.
Hold on, I'm gonna just change your noise gate real quick so that they can hear you, because it keeps cutting out. 1 second. Chatters they're congratulating you for your award on the documentary, or the nomination for the documentary. as well. 1 second. Okay, it should be fine now. Going forward, they'll just hear everything that you say, won't cut out, and hopefully people won't get annoyed. Okay, so today we're also raising money for the No Other Land Rebuilding Alliance fundraiser. Do you want to talk about that a little bit as well? Here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Adam Ramadan. I'm the Deputy Director for Rebuilding Alliance. I guess some background on Rebuilding Alliance. We've been working in Palestine and Gaza and the West Bank for over 20 years now. The founder and executive director, Donna Baranski-Walker, started Rebuilding Alliance to rebuild the house that Rachel Corrie was murdered protecting, the Nasrallah's house in Gaza. And she was actually successful in rebuilding their house in Gaza. Unfortunately, that house has been demolished this past war since October 7th. So, that's just more reason for us to continue our efforts and do what we're doing best. To talk more about the work we do in Gaza, we have over 20 kitchens. We're feeding over 70,000 people a day. That was in partnership with the World Food Program. Unfortunately, that contract is coming to an end. So we have to take, all the financial responsibility to ensure that these kitchens are still running. So that's one of the reasons why we started this fundraiser. We also do, we have different educational programs. We have pop-up temporary, like as they call them in Gaza, temporary learning spaces since there are no schools. We do hire teachers that worked as teachers to help, put together any kind of program to ease the situation of the children in Gaza at this moment. We've had partners prior to October 7th that's been running, community kitchens and running programs to support social health like that. So, and also in the West Bank, the work that we do in the West Bank, specifically in the Hebron Hills, we have social workers there that do activities for young children that are traumatized from the experiences they've, had with the IDF and the Israeli soldiers. We also one of the biggest aspects of our work is we do congressional trips to the West Bank. So we actually take members of Congress to Palestine, and we let them go through the experience of what a Palestinian would go through every single day. So that's just a quick overview of the work that we do. We're excited to help Basil and Hamdan and their family with the visa to come here to the States to hopefully celebrate their victory and winning the Oscars tomorrow.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Can you elaborate on that on the difficulties of such a thing? Because I think a lot of people don't understand, like, it's not very easy for Palestinians from the West Bank to be able to travel freely. And as far as I understand, there's also issues with even returning once you leave the West Bank. Yeah. Israel has so much control over this territory that it legally occupies that there have been instances, for example, where American congresspersons have been barred from entering the West Bank to visit their family members, like Rashida Tlaib is one of the famous examples of the level of power and influence that Israel has over the lives of Palestinians, but also even the lives of Americans. Is there, like, do you want to go through that a little bit?
I mean, there's no secret. We're a registered nonprofit. We follow all the laws and rules and the regulations that are set forth in the U.S. and abroad. So we do our best to follow the procedures and regulations that are put forth for us to follow. There's no secret. There's no magic to it. It's just a matter of following what they have. Whatever they put forward works, so there's no reason to go around it or make it more complicated. So that's what we do. We follow the process and trust that it'll work.
Yeah. So one of the questions I wanted to ask you was about your day-to-day experiences with the Israeli occupying force like if you could give like if you could elaborate on your personal experiences of like how the Israeli occupying forces will restrict your travel, for example, things that people might not be aware of.
Yeah, in terms of borders, we know like all borders between Jordanian River to the Mediterranean Sea are controlled by the Israeli forces. Palestinians doesn't control any type of border, like to go to travel outside or to come back to their homes. Everything is controlled by the Israeli soldiers. So yeah, a lot of Palestinians are banned also to travel outside. And the millions of Palestinian refugees that have lost their homes and have been like ethnically cleansed in the Nakba or in the 67 are not allowed to go back to their homes until today. In the day-to-day life under the occupation, like I would say, the best example, people watch No Other Land, and sadly until now we don't have a distribution in the US. We had me and my friend Hamdan and colleague in this work put so much efforts and take so much risks on our life, on our homes, to document this evidence, to find out that distributors in the US doesn't want to take one step of courage to take such a movie and to show to the people. And the people in the US must know what's happening, because their countries is a key player. Their money actually is doing what is doing to us, and they should know what's going on with their money on our life. Why a village like mine can't have clean water pipe to drink a water, or we can't build a school or electricity, or Hamdan, for example, has home demolition order on his home and can be destroyed at any moment today, and actually the whole village where he lives, and this is sad that the people until today does not know what's going on or what's their government supports. And for that, we come with this movie. We're doing tours. We're bringing it to theaters, and hopefully distributors in the US will take it and show it to the people.
Yeah, No Other Land does not have a U.S. distributor, but is still the year's highest-grossing Oscar-nominated documentary. Back in February, or I guess a couple days ago, it had grossed so far as $420,000. Also, briefly, I do want to say we are now. Wait, we might have actually broken the website. We're at. We've passed the $25,000 goal, by the way, for No Other Land Rebuilding Alliance fundraiser. So, good job, chatters.
Thanks for the support.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I mean it's nothing basically in terms of the endless cruelty that I think the American government and our tax dollars subject Palestinians to, but everyone here tries to help to the best of their ability, Anyway, aside from, I wanted to talk about like your day-to-day experiences. Aside from the destruction of the villages, a lack of access to clean water supply, and things of that nature that are gross human rights violations. What does that do for your psyche in general? Like existing under a foreign occupation on a day-to-day basis, like having no legal recourse, for example.
Yeah, in the beginning, this is like our land, so we have to be strong, and you feel you are in your land and you are we are under occupation. We understand that, and there is no moment you feel you are safe. And when you grow up and under these laws against the humanity, from the occupation. Your experience, it's like born with you. You grow up to think how's you'll live under the occupation, and also when you get the experience from what you see. Like me, I saw the first demolition for my house. I was 7 years old. So when you ask about the experience and what you did like a kids, when you saw your house demolition and destroyed, I can't explain that moment. And when I saw everything, my tent, my kids, they destroyed it, and I saw my family, it's like outside, become homeless. But after it's like 1 hour, 2 hours, when my dad came to me and he started to spoke with me about the house, he started to tell me, okay, they will destroy the house, I will rebuilding again. So that's from this people that came, how the trust, and also it's like thinking all the time there is a hope. We will get it, inshallah. So and also when we spoke about how we live without clean water and without food or something, we have, it's like different ways, but it's like we will digging in the ground and makes like well water and collected the rainwater, and step by step it's like became clean. But another thing also, the Israeli occupation, they didn't let us also, it's like digging the water well. So but we will never, for me, I grew up all my life. I didn't see the Palestinian people, they are give up. So they continue. They destroyed my village like 7 times, and then we're building again. So that's give you, it's like early experience.
Yeah. So you're saying that it starts off instantly when you're a child, basically, and you recognize the cruelty that the Israeli government is subjecting the Palestinian people to, but you persevere and you just kind of find a way and continue
to still alive.
Surviving. Yeah. Some of the things that I have read about on the matter is the systematic destruction, and also the ways in which, like, even collecting rainwater is seen as like inappropriate, and oftentimes by the Israeli government. Like they'll break the water towers as well from time to time. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's many times.
And destroy the wells too.
Yeah, destroy the water walls. Destroy the network by water. Everything you do, you will, it's like try to do it in Masafir Yatta. Okay, it's like already they came and destroyed it. So and also they changed, it's like many laws. Okay, I spoke, it's like Israeli laws, the occupation laws. To be, it's like, that's illegal when they destroyed your house. Okay, they start. It's like let us spoke about the ordered demolitions. In the beginning, you have, it's like when they give you the order demolition for your house, or you have 2 weeks to go to the court and make a case against this. But they change it now. It's becomes like 96 hours. Mm-hmm. And 96 hours, they came on Wednesday, example, they give you the orders, and there is just like a holiday, 2 days, and then you don't have a time to prepare your papers or something like this. So, and then they came, destroyed it. So they destroyed just like everything you try to building, everything you, if you want, like digging water well or network water, they came and destroyed it, and not just destroyed it. After they destroyed the network, they confiscated the pipes with them. You can imagine like this moment when you saw like these people who they destroyed the network and then they take it with them. They didn't give you like one opportunity to fix it again.
Yeah. It's virtually impossible for Palestinians to get construction permits. From what I understand, it's about like 98% of the construction permits that Palestinians apply for in terms of building wells or any sort of like water supply is denied, rejected by the Israeli government.
Yeah, this number was before this government, I think, the 98%, and now it's for sure 100% that we are declined to apply any, or if we apply, it's declined. The thing is, as I said, it's like an occupation that does want to steal our land. So now they're weaponizing, not just now, but they always have been weaponizing the law itself against us to make us existing on our land illegal. Like illegal to build a home or a school or a clinic or a street or water pipe or electricity, to have any life requirement that we build on our land. They will say it's illegal and they will come to destroy it. And the Western world mostly was, and still unfortunately, buying these lies that it's Palestinians doing illegal stuff, we are enforcing the law. But the law actually is written by Israeli commander, And in this game, soldiers, court, government, settlers working hand to hand, and they complete each other for one goal, which is to legalize the Israeli settlements and outposts and settlers projects, and to legalize anything about us as a Palestinians living in this land. And talking about Area C, Masaf Riyadh is part of it. It's 60% of the whole West Bank. So for that, they are like transferring or forcibly displacing us from our homes and taking it for the interests of settlements and settlers, but in the long term, for that to annex it for the or now maybe Trump will announce to the annexation in one of his speeches. And it's sad because for a long time, as you know, the Western media, they were biased. There was not a real cover about what's going on the ground, and they buy what the Israeli, for example, army spokesperson would say. Okay, they destroyed the school in this village. Why you destroy it? Because it's illegal. And our narrative was not heard, and we don't have almost a place to talk about our stories. Now it's different nowadays. We have we have people like beside us, people like you talking about Palestine. We are making this movie. Another people around the world are talking up and speaking up about what's happening. But so far, unfortunately, we are not winning on the ground because everything is dropped fast to be worse and worse. As you know, 2 days after the ceasefire took place in Gaza, the Israeli occupation forces announcing a military campaign in the West Bank and focused mainly on Tubas refugee camp, Jenin refugees camp, and Tulkarem refugees camp. So far, they displaced 50,000 people out of their homes, and they're burning some of the homes or blowing them up and destroying them. As well, the whole West Bank under a siege. We used to travel from the southern part of the West Bank to get to the border, and worst case would be 3 hours. Today, the best case would be from 7 to 10 hours. There is checkpoints almost in every entrance to village, to a town, to a city, and each city from the another is divided with metal gates. Soldiers are there 24/7 on these gates. You would see thousands of lines of cars waiting and being humiliated. My brother, who came and traveled for the first time in the U.S., want to join for the ceremony tomorrow. He was stopped at the checkpoint. They checked his phone by chance, and they found that in TikTok he uploaded one video from Masaf Riyadh. They forced him to wait in the checkpoint and to be detained almost 3 hours and to be humiliated and attacked by the soldiers. And this happened to thousands and thousands of Palestinians across the West Bank since October 7th, to humiliating people for posting any political thing, or to have like a flag of Palestine in their car, or like wearing a shirt that have anything politically Palestine or something. So we're living really in very difficult situation.
Yeah.
That it never was like this.
Yeah, I mean, difficult is right. As far as I understand, they've also completely shut off Tulkarm. Like they've bulldozed the entry points into Tulkarm, and are likely gearing up for even further incursions into it with I guess.
And Jenin, like they brought tanks that since 20 years it didn't happen. And the other day, you have Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, going into Tulkarm with the Israeli soldiers, and he sat in a house where the family were like displaced. And for us, it's shocking. Like, this person have arrest warrants from the International Criminal Court. And he's still able to come to the U.S. and talk about democracy and about law and about human rights, and he's hosted. I mean, this is really crazy and insane. The hypocrisy today by some of the Western governments and in the U.S. It's not anymore undercover.
Yeah. Now, in order for Western audiences to understand, imagine if Vladimir Putin was sitting inside of an Eastern Ukrainian home and saying like, "Oh, this is our new military bunker," and it's just the home of a displaced Ukrainian person, and they're just kind of sitting there and openly flexing.
Yeah, or come to visit the U.S. and the president to give him a chair to sit.
Yeah. Oh, that too. Exactly. I mean, exactly. That would be unimaginable. I mean, that's not even a thing. Well, I think that it is. It's mostly because everything that Israel is doing, it's doing for America. Like, I think that this dynamic exists not only because a lot of wealthy donors have given Trump, including Miriam Adelson, who's given Donald Trump $100 million, and Sheldon, before he died, gave last time around hundreds of millions of dollars to the Trump campaign. But beyond that, I think America uses Israel as a military base to dominate the region, and seemingly they see Palestinians as getting in the way of Israel having complete control over the region.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane how Trump sometimes would use words that Israel is too tiny or too small and should like make it bigger, or like we will take Gaza, we'll like displace 2 million people. From there, like people like Netanyahu and others in the Israeli governments and the army motivated more. Even these things are in their minds and they're working in it. But today they got the president of the most almost power on the world backing them in these crimes and calling them in very clear way,
Yeah. And haven't shaken away from the unlimited support that they've given to Israel, including sending bulldozers as well, and another $3 billion of weapon shipments that Donald Trump gave to Israel without congressional review 2 days ago, yesterday, while also telling Zelensky, go away, kicking Zelensky out of the White House, while simultaneously saying like, we're America first, we don't have enough money for Ukraine, and then turning around and giving Israel $3 billion on the same day is pretty obvious where America's attention is, and what they want to allow Israel to do. Having said all of that, where do you foresee all of this going? Because there are some people who think that there is if Israel, without forcing every single Palestinian away from the West Bank or away from Gaza, and that's virtually impossible, without a complete full-blown Holocaust style activities would have to bring the Palestinians into Israel, like with citizenship, and then that would make it impossible for them to deny the apartheid. Do you feel like that's the worst case scenario? Like, is there?
I don't think Israel will do that, and if they will do that, it's still apartheid system, because the apartheid system exists between the river to the sea for all the Palestinians in different levels, for sure. The Palestinians who hold even Israeli citizenship under the system of apartheid, because in the end of the day, Israel sees them as Palestinians and they treat them in that way. A lot of demolitions happening inside the Green Line for the Palestinians that having Israeli citizenship in the Negev, a whole communities.
Yeah.
One community called Al-Araqib, over than 250 times have been like bulldozed. And those are Palestinians with
Israeli citizenship.
But you would never ever see Israel doing this to Israeli kibbutz or settlement or whatever you want to call it, to bulldozer it, or to kick like Jewish people out of it and to destroy their homes
and then replace those villages with Palestinians.
Exactly.
That would never happen.
So it's
Oh, also we've reached double the amount on the fundraiser. It's now at $50,000 as of now for the No Other Land Rebuilding Alliance fundraiser. So congratulations, chat. Good job. You're making me a little proud after all the annoying things that you were saying initially about the audio and the microphone. So, we might not be the most professional system here, but we make do. So you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but would you be willing to explain to a Western audience, like, what the dynamic between the Palestinian Authority and the Palestinian people are? Because from my estimation, it seems like the Palestinian Authority in many instances is operating as a part of the Israeli security apparatus, operating sometimes alongside Israel.
So the Palestinian Authority was founded because, according to Oslo Agreement, and this agreement should have been terminally, and then Palestine should be a state, where it has to control all the area, East Jerusalem, West Bank, and Gaza. But in the agreement, they divided the West Bank to Area A, B, and C. Area B, where the Palestinian Authority should have the full control. In Area B, they control the civil parts of the Area B, and Area C is fully controlled by the Israeli military forces for 5 years, and then Israel should withdraw, and all this, the West Bank should be one area controlled by the Palestinian Authority. Unfortunately, Rabin was killed. The Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu became a minister, and he stopped this and say we are not working on this with this agreement, and we will not withdraw from the West Bank until today. In fact, they, as we know, kept growing these settlements and outposts, and he created a fact on the ground. It was what was there, he kept it, and he changed the facts on the interests of his government, his country, his people, for the settlers in the West Bank. And the Palestinian Authority unfortunately accepted and continue to deal with the facts as much as they change on the ground, which is bad for the Palestinians. And until today, until they became very powerless in front of the Israelis, And the fact that anytime the Israeli army want to go in Area A, and they does, before October 7th, every night there is invasions by the Israeli military forces toward Area A and arresting people from their homes, and no response from the Palestinian Authority. In fact, according to Oslo Agreement, they don't have to show up when the Israeli military are in the streets in Area A. They have to be in their offices.
Yeah.
And this is how it kept go on, the situation. Unfortunately, they start to say recently, before 2 months, almost that in like they want to protect the West Bank, so the same thing doesn't happen like Israel is doing in Gaza, and they start to blame the Palestinian fighters in the refugees camps. So the Israeli Palestinian authorities start to go,
who have a legal right, for the record, in like the Jenin brigades, and he's not saying that, I'm saying that for the record, but they have a legal right under international law to engage in armed resistance against a foreign occupier, a belligerent occupier. That is like technically legal. What Israel is doing, everything Israel is doing in the West Bank is completely illegal. There is not a single thing that Israel does in the West Bank that is legal. It is entirely illegal. Not only is it morally repugnant, abhorrent, but it's also completely illegal. Whereas resisting against that is completely legal. Make no mistake.
Yeah, so they start arrest people, and bunch of people have been killed as well by the Palestinian Authority security. And even though they did this 2 days after the ceasefire took place in Gaza, Israel invade the West Bank and almost doing the same thing as they were doing in Gaza. And for sure, since the invasion started, which is 2 days after the ceasefire in Gaza, the Palestinian Authority withdrew to give, like, the place is now under this like Israeli military campaign.
Yeah. So aside from the additional like the almost Gazification of West Bank in terms of Israeli military action, how do you feel about, I mean, do you feel like putting yourself out there in this way, do you fear that you might suffer repercussions from the Israeli government?
Well, I suffered. I was physically different times, not just me, but other activists on the ground, like, have been subject of physical attacks for holding camera and filming what's going on. My family was different times subject of physical attacks, arrests for me, for my father. Our homes have been invaded several times. They came sometimes particularly to confiscate cameras from our homes that we used to film in the field. Also, there was media campaigns against me by Israeli mainstream and on social media. Yeah, I am fear, but it's
What do they say?
And there was, like, I can tell you the story. In 2021, there was a first, like, kind of big pogrom by Israeli settlers against a small village next to our village. Almost from 60 to 80 masked Israeli settlers with sticks, with rifles, with dogs, with, like, they have almost everything. And they start to go home after home in that village, smashing windows, doors, properties, attacking people and cars, anything they could. They were stabbing water tanks, the tires of, like, their cars and tractors, and smashing the vehicles in the community. The Israeli army were backing them, shooting at any Palestinians try to react to protect themselves. It's a scenes that in my life were the first time to see them, and I was able to film for a while, like 3 to 4 minutes, as if I can remember, before at least 10 settlers start to chase me to try to take the camera and throwing stones at me, and hardly I made it and I ran away. And I saw families, like women and children, like fleeing from their homes while settlers continue to destroy the community. These settlers were able to flip to upside down one of the vehicles, while soldiers are watching and waiting for any Palestinians to approach to shoot at him or at her. And that was for a 1 hour, almost 1 hour, the attack, before more Palestinians joined and started to call the police. We're calling the police, but they start to arrive, and more forces, and in kind of the situation were calmed, and settlers start to walk back to the outpost after they almost destroyed everything and hit one 3-year-old child with a rock in his head, and he was seriously attacked and transferred to the hospital. in that moment, what happened? There was like one of the tear gas starting a fire on a wood that the family collect for the winter, you know, because we use a stove of like for the winter fire stove. And I called the soldiers that there's fire here, you have to stop it. They ignore me and walk. And then I start to shout at the guys from the community to bring water. And then when the guys take a water and start to run, soldiers came and they start to tell me, you start the fire. I tell him, you start the fire. And after 1 week, because this pogrom and this attack with the video that I took was everywhere, and they couldn't lie about it. They couldn't deny it because it was everywhere in the media. A lot of journalists come and talk about what happened to this community. So 1 week after, this soldier that was telling me I start the fire, I'm telling him you start the fire, had a GoPro camera on his body, and he took this clip, passed it to the settlers passed it to Channel 12 in Israel, which is mainstream media, and they said this activist Bassel Adra started a fire on a Palestinian home to accuse the Jews of when they victimize themselves, they don't mention the Israelis, the Jews, started the fire. And in fact, there was no fire at any home. The fire were like in a wood a place. And this is like made me a subject of virtual attacks by like Israeli journalists and settlers and right wing and all of this.
Yeah. Oh no, I can't say how I feel. I can't be as honest as I want to in this moment, but I'm sorry that happened. That's fairly commonplace across the board. It's nothing in comparison to your experiences, but yes, if you do defend Palestinians and their humanity in any capacity, even in the Western world, regardless of your background, you could be a Christian, you could be Jewish in America, and they will still say you are a terrorist, you love terrorism, even though that is such a ridiculous thing to say in this dynamic, considering that the terror is America and Israel. Israel is the one that's doing the terrorism. Everything that you've described from your own personal experience and everything that we've read about, that humanitarian rights organizations work to unearth and to show to the rest of the world is indeed definitionally true terror. But it's being dished out by the United States of America and Israel, so it's never considered terrorism, even when the ICC sees it as terrorism, even when the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, sees it as terrorism. So I have two questions. One, let's say this is a Western audience, let's say that there are people who are in Israel, because I have Israeli fans as well. They're leftists, they're anti-Zionists, but if there was anything that you could say to someone living in Israel who is entertaining the notion of joining the IDF, what would you tell them?
I don't know if I want to, if I am the right person to tell them, depending that the people going to the IDF, yeah? Mm-hmm. Because for us, they are the ones committing those things to us. So things are clear there on the ground. It's not like I'm here, I'm talking to you. When you are on the ground, you understand more and better. And the only reason you would continue doing so, what you are doing, is just if you are a racist.
Yeah.
Because other people, normal people, would immediately understand that this is abnormal, this is unjust, and this is crimes. And unless you're a criminal and racist and support these things, you would be in that place, supporting these crimes and be part of it.
What do you think about people who have actually joined organizations like Breaking the Silence, for example, after doing tours on?
All of these activists are our friends. We know them. We work together today, and we know all the Israeli left-wing activists, because they since long time until today they come to Masafer Yatta and they. We do all of that, most of our activism together. Yeah.
So let me ask you about that actually, because so Yuval Abraham played a role in this in the making of this documentary. I've actually really admired his work for a long time at 972 Magazine, Local Calls, another one that does a lot of investigative reporting on all of the horrible things that the Israeli military is doing. Sometimes that even has the capacity to penetrate into the Western world. Ironically enough, from where I'm standing, when we look at Israeli news, even if it's Haaretz, which is not an anti-Zionist paper at all, or even if it's sometimes Ynet, or even sometimes Jerusalem Post, it's more honest than American media, because I feel like they don't feel the need to they don't feel the need to like make it seem like what Israel's doing is moral, because if your audience is already Israeli, they already have decided that Palestinians are not human and must be dominated. Whereas in the New York Times here in the United States of America, I think that they sanitize it.
Because you're like, I think one of the reasons and big reasons because it's funded by the US, and the US doesn't want to say that we're funding those things.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. It's predominantly funded by us, both our tax dollars, but also directly funded by American Christian groups. For example, there's the largest donors to the West Bank, specifically in settler operations, is the Christians United for Israel, CUFI. It's a evangelical Zionist group, and it is comprised entirely of Christians. It's funded entirely by Christians, and it's Christians like the guy Mike Huckabee that Donald Trump just put as in charge of the West Bank from the American perspective, that believe in these like insane biblical reasons as to why the West Bank must be given and the entire region must be given to Jewish people so that they can trigger a rapture, and Jesus Christ will come back to earth in their estimation. It's truly psychotic. It's insane. Now, another question I have, I guess, is there are obviously Jewish Israelis who put their bodies on the line as well. Do you feel like that is given the ethno-supremacist values that Zionists have, or given the ethno-supremacist values that Israel has, do you feel like when there are Jewish activists side by side with you that there is less harm in general?
Well, they sometimes been attacked and arrested a lot of times, but we are they don't face what we face as the Palestinians in most of the cases, because in the end of the day they have the privilege because they are Israelis. They are like, some of them are our friends, and we talk every day and we work together and go to the field. But still, they are Israelis. They know that they have the privilege. And not necessarily, they like in a lot of cases there was Israeli activists, and still the harm would be the same. For example, in Beta, where American activists were shot in the head and killed, and there was other American activists, American activists, the Turkish American and Israeli activists who were side by side with her and the Palestinians, and still the same in Masafir Yatta. Almost all. Sometimes it would make the harm less, depends on the situation, but sometimes, most of the times, no. Settlers would come to commit a pogrom and to burn homes or attack people. They would keep doing it even if they see Israeli activists.
The Israeli Prime Minister's office says Israel agreed to a U.S. Proposal for extending the Gaza ceasefire in return for the release of hostages, but is claiming that Hamas is refusing. As of now, this just came out, which is, of course, a lie, and they have lied about this every step of the way.
Yeah, they don't want to go to phase 2.
They don't want to go to phase 2, but it's currently, it's Ramadan right now. In many instances, at least historically, Ramadan is a time for Israel to really escalate its violence in the West Bank specifically. And as a matter of fact, many of the instances where Hamas has retaliated have happened during this time frame.
In Jerusalem, maybe you mean?
What's up?
That they escalate the situation in Jerusalem. You mean? In the
Yes.
Al-Aqsa
At the Al-Aqsa Mosque specifically, Israel will come in, will refuse for people to even visit the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and then will sometimes commit a siege on the Al-Aqsa Mosque. I'm sure you can speak to that as well from your personal experience. And then even harm Palestinians, sometimes even killing Palestinians in the process. And then there will be retaliation that comes from the Gaza Strip. And then Israel will use that retaliation to go and bomb the Gaza Strip. This is usually how this process works. Having said that, this time, considering that there has already been a siege in Gaza and ethnic cleansing that has been happening in Gaza, and Israel is already focusing its efforts on the West Bank, how do you think that this Ramadan period will play itself out?
I think they still this year they have decided, I think, to prevent young people to attend to Al-Aqsa Mosque. You know, for the audience, the people that's watching us, we are from the West Bank. We can't go to the Aqsa Mosque anyway, because it's technically inside the wall, the separation wall, and we need a permission that we will never get to go there. So, Palestinians from the West Bank don't go to pray in Al-Aqsa Mosque. In the previous years, some of the people would have permissions and exceptions to go pray in Al-Aqsa Mosque, and most of the escalations would happen with the prayers in Al-Aqsa. Today, I see, and most of the Fridays, actually, since the beginning of the war, Israel is preventing young people to attend to prayers in the Aqsa Mosque. We're talking about people from East Jerusalem and 48, like from inside the Green Line, not the West Bank. We are at all prevented to go there. And I think today in Ramadan as well, they're preventing young people to attend to the prayer only from 50 and up that can go enter pray in Al-Aqsa Mosque. They see in this a chance, you know, that they can now control and change the situation in Al-Aqsa Mosque as well.
Yeah. Here, this is what I was talking about with respect to Israeli media versus American media, where Haaretz says, Netanyahu stalls stage 2 of the Gaza ceasefire and once again weaponizes Israel's grief. The inertia of stage 1 and the resultant dramatic change in the Israeli public mood will soon clash with the prime minister's plan to obfuscate and prevaricate. Their analysis also is still not necessarily speaking on the humanity of the Palestinians, but the anger that Israelis feel towards their own government. But then you look at the American news, and it says Hamas rejects Israel's request to extend phase 1 of Gaza ceasefire.
Yeah.
It's bullshit. It's a lie. And when you say that it's a lie, people get mad at you. They say you're wrong. You're
this shown also the cowardness of the American leaders when Biden set up a proposal and Hamas accepted, and then Netanyahu rejected, and then the American government say, "Oh, Hamas rejecting and refusing to negotiate." The Hamas like saying, "No, we are accepting it," and now the same thing, a proposal by the Americans that has phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. I think phase 1 ended, and Israel refusing to go to phase 2, and American media says Hamas is rejecting like to go to the phase 2.
When it's you know,
nothing to blame Netanyahu for.
It's not the
like
truth.
In this country, you are not allowed to blame Netanyahu for anything.
No.
He's always right.
No, of course. Yes. I mean, you know, going back to this, of course, this image says it all, obviously. So what else? There's some other questions that I wanted to ask you before I let you guys go, because thank you so much for taking the time out to come here. And we're also close to tripling the goal, by the way, for Rebuilding Alliance fundraiser. We are now officially at 70. Holy moly. We are at, mashallah, we're at $73,419 raised.
Thank you.
Since you guys got here. Do they know about anti-BDS laws? Oh, yeah, that's actually an interesting question. Do you know that it is in 34 or I think it might be 37 now. In 37 states in the United States of America, it is illegal to protest Israel. It's illegal to boycott. Obviously, BDS, boycott, divestments, and sanctions. It's illegal. You can't get a job. If you want to get a job in Texas, for example, as a public school teacher, you have to sign a document that says you will never advocate for boycotts, you will never advocate for divestments, and you will never advocate for sanctions against the state of Israel.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Sad, insane.
This is why, in spite of all of this, and in spite of the media blackout, and in spite of the abject lies that Western media tells, I still look at everything that's going on, and I still see the genuine attitude shift and the momentum in the direction of recognizing the humanity of Palestinian people as still a sign of things to change. And especially on the other side, I think Israel is a pariah state, no matter what, going forward.
Yeah.
Like our leaders, and I think in the Arab world and in Turkey as well, but in the Arab world, I think people understand this a little bit better, where the opinion of politicians and the government is very different than the opinion of the populations.
Yeah.
Where you look at Mohammed bin Salman, or you look at the Jordanian king participating in security cooperations with the Israeli state, whereas the Jordanian population or even the Saudi population, I think, have a very different attitude about the Israeli state. And I think that's kind of what's happening in the Western world right now as well, especially with younger generations, where they're recognizing this cold hard truth that there is no real democracy in this process, and that regardless of how much you protest, that the American government is still going to give billions and billions of dollars to Israel, and that and I think that is inevitably going to create a contradiction that has to resolve, where one side's got to give, and I still am a firm believer that the side that will give is Western nations and Western governments that slowly but surely move away from the unconditional support they offer to Israel, especially as Israel has become this pariah state in the way that people receive it in the Western world as well. I say Western world because the rest of the world knows what's up, but Western Europe is like one of the only places, and America is one of the only places where people have people have held this like loyalty to Israel,
and they are the ones supporting Israel and backing it, and you know, so for that we keep calling Europe and America, because most of the Israeli power comes from here.
Yeah. So let me ask you another thing. Do you foresee? Okay, this is the last question, I promise.
Sure. Yeah. No.
Do you foresee an attitude shift happening in Israel at all? This is a little bit of a tricky question. Do you think that there are more people, more activists that you have seen in at least the West Bank in terms of Jewish activists now post October 7th?
I'm not like expert in talking about the Israeli society, but they shifted more to the right wing, you know.
Yeah.
Like October 7th make most of the Israeli shifting a lot to, you know, in any way, most of the population didn't care about the occupation before that, and they were like, either they don't know, or they don't want to know, you know? They don't want to open their eyes because they are living their own life and busy with it, and doesn't see what they are doing to us after the wall, and they don't mostly cross the wall to come to the West Bank. And I know that after October 7th, they more shifted to the right.
Yeah, and I think, again, this is my opinion, not theirs, okay? I think that there were a lot of people that are liberal Zionists that were very critical about Israel occupying the West Bank. And I think that they recognize that kind of looks bad to the Western world, and that's the reason why they were so critical over it. or maybe they truly did think that it was unacceptable, I guess. Or maybe they had a more serious approach to it where they thought, you know, if you do this, then you make it impossible to have a two-state solution. And if there's no possibility for a two-state solution, the inevitability is a one-state solution. And we can't have that. We can't live side by side with the Palestinians. But regardless, I think a lot of those people after October 7 basically all dropped it completely. And they were like, no, you know, do what needs to be done. At least I did see that from a lot of the liberal Zionist accounts that I saw on Twitter of people that initially would do activism in the West Bank, turning around and now saying stuff like, no, we have to pummel Gaza. We have to do everything we can. So, okay, this is definitely the last question. This might be, you don't have to answer it, okay? Gal Gadot is presenting the documentary award at the Oscars.
Yeah.
How does that work for you?
To be honest, I don't know her much. I just heard from some people about this subject.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's confirmed or not. Also, you don't have to respond to that. It's okay. You don't have to say anything.
Okay.
Also, you have plenty of experience, I think, just by living in the West Bank, talking to people who have served in the Israeli occupying force. So it won't be a unique experience in that regard, I guess. But this time you will, you know, stand side by side as
we
peers.
don't know if we win. You know, that's another.
Yeah, well, I'm rooting for you guys.
Thank you.
Hopefully. Is there anything that you want to tell our audience before I let you guys go?
No, we just want to thank you and thank the audience for listening to us, for having us here. It's a pleasure, and for helping us for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Here, speaking to the microphone. Ooh.
I just want to give a shout out to Latino Muslim Unity for, you know, putting these two events together for Basil and Hamdan. We have a screening tonight and also a post Oscar celebration dinner on Monday at Jackson Market. So we're looking forward to celebrate, you know, the nomination of this documentary with you guys. So, and we really appreciate everyone's support. So thank you guys.
Hell yeah. Well, once again, thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything you want to say as well?
Just I need to thank you and thank you for the audience to hear us and host us, and that's it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your bravery. What do you guys like? What are some of the things you enjoy hobby wise?
Here in
just in the States or in general, like what do you do for fun aside from surviving?
we don't know. We sometimes play cards. What else? I don't know.
Just you
it's
play a little bit.
Remember something. Sometimes football.
Backgammon, tavla. I don't know how you say it in Arabic.
Yeah.
No. Soccer, football.
Soccer and cards. These things. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's cool. Any TV?
No. Addicted to phones.
Oh, you watch TikTok?
Not TikTok. No, social media mostly. Instagram.
What do you do? You're on Instagram?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who do you follow on Instagram?
Who we follow?
What kind of stuff do you follow on Instagram?
I am addicted to politicians, so very hard to speak about other stuff. But yeah, some movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I won't bother you anymore.
We're fasting and very hard to remember.
No, I know. Thank you so much once again. All right, everybody. No Other Land, 2025 Academy Award nominee, Best Documentary Feature. Inshallah tomorrow.
Inshallah.
We'll see what happens, but yeah. Once again, thank you so much for coming.
Sure.
This was a real honor, and you know, thank you for existing, and thank you for the work that you guys are doing in general.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I'm gonna play. I'm gonna go back to the playlist. We're gonna talk about the disastrous Zelensky. We're gonna talk about the disastrous Zelensky meeting and the Ukrainian response to it, and then I obviously.